Hi, and welcome to another episode of Boozing with Boomers. I'm Dave, and I've been on a quest to learn how to make a great balanced cocktail. So please hit the subscribe button so we can go on this journey together. For today's episode, I thought for all of us that have been suffering through snowstorm after snowstorm in the past month, it would be nice for our psyche to think about and imagine that we're on a warm tropical island sitting on the beach sipping a refreshing cocktail. So let's go back to the 1930s to a place called El Floridita, which is an historic cocktail bar in the older part of Havana, Cuba. And it happens to be a very bright pink building, so if you get near the area, it's very easy to find. And El Floridita was famous for two things we're going to talk about today. First, the owner is credited with making the first frozen daiquiri in the world. So here we are in early 1930s, and at the same time, it's also famous for the fact that Ernest Hemingway and his famous guests used to frequent there all the time on his way back and forth to Spain. So they, of course, wanted to share this new frozen concoction with Ernest Hemingway. He took a sip, looked at the bartender, and didn't like the sweetness, so he said, and I quote, "Please make me another with half the sugar and twice the rum." So they proceeded to make variations of this cocktail for Ernest Hemingway, and eventually they found a recipe that became his favorite, and it is known today as the Hemingway Daiquiri. So what I'm going to make today is going to make it as close as I can to that recipe. The famous rum at the time in Cuba, and I actually talked about this in episode 4, the mojito recipe, is Havana Club. Now this is the only legal bottle I can get in the United States. It's actually Puerto Rican rum, but it is made in the style that would have been served in Cuba at the time. So we're going to use that rum with Luxardo maraschino liqueur. Use this over cherry hearing. Cherry hearing, very similar liqueur, except for the fact that cherry hearing is a lot sweeter. This is drier. And we're going to have grapefruit juice, fresh squeezed grapefruit juice, and fresh squeezed lime juice. So let me get started. As we have learned, it's best to start with your least expensive ingredients, just in case you make a mistake. So in the recipe, we have 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, 1/2 an ounce of fresh grapefruit juice, then 1/2 an ounce of the Luxardo maraschino liqueur, then 2 ounces of the Havana Club, and because I am making 2 cocktails, I am going to put in 4 ounces. We're going to shake this now, like the other drinks. Whoops, it would help if I started putting ice in. This one's a little bit different because there's a lot of, it's like double the citrus. So we're going to shake this a little bit longer. So instead of 20 seconds, we're going to go 30 seconds. And we're going to shake it as vigorously as we can. And that will get us as close as possible to what Ernest Hemingway was drinking at the time. So I'll be right back. I forgot I also put the cocktail glass in the freezer, so I'll be right back. Here we've got our frozen glass. Whoops. And then make sure to put a good pour in there. We're then going to garnish it with a lime wheel. Fits right in there, so that one's for you. Then, of course, the boomer. And I have been picked on for having such a large glass, but I want to make sure I don't miss a drop. And let's see how I did today. So this is an extremely refreshing drink. It's not quite 80 degrees and sunny right here. But the other thing to understand is a bone dry daiquiri. So I've had people try this, and the citrus can be overpowering if you're expecting sweetness. So if you try this at home and you think it's still a little too citrusy, I have experimented with Demerara simple syrup. So buy Demerara sugar, make it like the normal simple syrup recipe of 1 part sugar to 1 part water, and just put in 1/4 of an ounce, and it will still be a balanced cocktail, just not the way that Ernest Hemingway drank it. And then another variation could be using something like cherry heering, which I have not done, so maybe I'll do in the future and put it in the comment section, because that will give it a little bit of sweetness as well. But I personally, as a Manhattan drinker, love this cocktail. It's dry, it has a dry finish, it is extremely refreshing. It is great if you're sitting outside in the sun, works very well. You could also take this recipe, and if you wanted to make this a frozen concoction because you like frozen daiquiris better, I believe that would work as well. Again, I haven't, but it has a lot to do with when I'm serving drinks up. I like the fact that the flavors stay consistent, where when you put a frozen drink or put it on ice, it's going to dilute a little bit more. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Boozing with Boomers. And Ernest Hemingway is also famous for some great quotes, and one of my personal favorites is that he is quoted as saying, "I drink to make other people more interesting." So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit like and subscribe so we can go on this journey with Boozing with Boomers together. Cheers and thank you.